time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
12:03 on Edmonton Sports Talk. Thank you very much for being here. You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. We're flying high, or at least I'm flying high here at the office. Between shows, I was shooting some like we call them the free throws on our hoop in here, and I couldn't hit any, and I was like, I got to do two guys. And as I'm walking back, there was a ball laying well beyond this far green chair, and I grabbed it, and I stepped up, and I drained it, and Trev and I were like, oh! And I got goosebumps right now. It's the longest shot in the history of the hoop in the office here. So, boys, there's no slowing me down today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Nielson, Cass, and Gage are back with you. Two Guys and Goalie presented by GS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety driving their success. GS Construction has found a foundation built on teamwork. Now they want you to become a part of that team. They're hiring right now. Visit gsconstruction.ca, click ready to work, or visit their page at indeed.ca. With the Next Person Up program at GS Construction, it's not just a job, it is a career. Cass, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
I'm good.
Did you hear about my sweet shot?
I did hear about your sweet shot. It was amazing. I wish I made that sweet shot. No, I feel like I've been all over the map, probably because I have. So it's just like I'm everywhere these days, guys. I'm everywhere, but it's a good thing. So I'm busy. The kids are busy, as you guys know. Yeah. And we're good.
Are you doing a bunch of summer camps with the kids?
They start next week. Yeah, so we haven't had many of them.
Nice.
But I think we got my oldest is doing her first overnight camp she's going to.
Oh, wow.
So she's in all of her little besties, like her best friends from school, are all going to the same one. So that's going to
be amazing for her, man. Like, that's going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah. She's so jacked, and they have horses there, and so she's just like, she's living the dream right now with excitement. Gets a new sleeping bag, which is like a big deal.
How old is she? Reason. How old is your oldest?
She's 9. Same
as Marshall. So, man, I don't know if I could let Marshall go to an overnight sleep. Like, that would be, wow.
I probably wouldn't, but, we were very much like when we were setting it up with the other parents, like to go to the same camp where we're like, hey, we got to make sure they're all in the same little bunk area. Like, cause it's just like a sleepover with her best friends. And she's pretty responsible. She's a really good kid. So we got that. And then some day camps coming up. Like, we'll have art camp in a couple weeks for the two older ones, which will be really great. And they're really pumped about that. So a few smaller, like kind of day things, but yeah, the first overnight one. And I feel good with it now. Ask me again, as I'm prepping to drop her off. Yeah, could be a couple tears from old dad.
Yeah.
So.
Gage, you don't have to worry about much of this stuff, right? Outside of going to dance every single day of your entire life.
Like, I know you just hit that shot and you're feeling like a young Michael Jordan right now.
How dare you? How dare you put on that crown, man, the king?
But you guys are infants in parenting compared to me. My daughter's in Los Angeles right now.
Oh no.
A college campus.
Yeah,
okay?
that's
living in
bad.
Dorms.
That's bad. That's so bad.
A sleeping bag. Stop it. She's showing me pictures. She hit the beach the other day with all her friends, frolicking in the ocean.
Oh my God!
Oh my goodness!
Forget about it. You two. You have no idea.
You're right. You know what? You are 100% correct. I bow to you in this, that you are like that. Overnight camp pales in comparison. Overnight. Not even close.
She's been there. She's got another week. She's already been there a week. Stop it. Jesus.
This is the exact reason I don't want either of my kids to excel at anything. Right? Just stay at home with mommy and daddy until you're done post-secondary school, and that's it. And then you can actually live with us while you start your career for a few years, so you can save up a few bucks. Like, my ETA on the kids moving out are the ages of like 27. Up until then, Tam and I will be just doing the same stuff. I can't imagine. Yeah. I can't imagine knowing that Elizabeth's like at a college campus. Like, no chance.
Guys, I think about like that. If I ever think about that in the car, like if a song comes on and it's like about kids or like dads and daughters, it's like I just start crying. And I like think about like that, and I'm just like, I'll just start just breaking out in tears, like just bawling my eyes out. So yeah. Oh man. Epiphany's in the nasty chat, says, I'm sensing the only camp Cass will let his daughter or allow his daughter to go to once she hits 12 and starts dating involves a nunnery. That sounds about right. She's also not dating at 12 years old. that's we're pushing that down the road.
Yeah.
If possible.
I think we've already mentioned we're all going to, I mean, I could probably use one of you soon here. Right? I know there's been some hanging out with the opposite sex with my daughter, but really probably in need of a reenactment of Bad Boys 2 at some point from you guys.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Maybe I don't know about brandishing firearms, but yeah, I have no problems with a Rambo.
You can be subtle. You can be subtle, but also smart. So here's I got a good story for you because we laugh about this one. So this is when I'd started dating my wife. I was still on Facebook at the time back then, and she had I can't remember if it was her birthday. It was like she had made a post. And one of the guys that was her ex-boyfriend commented on it, and I saw that the ex-boyfriend commented on it. And all I did was I pulled a YouTube clip of one of my fights and I dropped it in underneath. So I commented on his comment with a YouTube video of one of my fights, and I didn't say anything and just left it at that. I'm like, you know what would be a power move? I'm just gonna drop this in here, just basically, flip a finger to the wind and go alpha male on him, and the equivalent of a dog peeing on its territory, where I'm just like, oh, not in this house. But I think you could do, like, social media is still a big thing, and maybe it'll be a big thing. So maybe, Gage, what we need to do is we need to make some TikToks of said like Rambo knives and stuff, and just like have them ready so that the second we see any kind of comments or like, you see some guy like her post on Instagram or whatever, is like we just start dropping those in there. I think that could be a strategy that works.
Yeah, no, yeah, maybe, yeah, sharpening knives, shooting guns.
This is a good one. Epiphany over on YouTube says, subtle involves reading a book entitled How to Get Rid of DNA Evidence with a map of the region and areas marked where to dump the remains.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Or just a compilation of tools being purchased at Home Depot and other places with lye, shovel, rope.
Yeah, big buckets of lye, chemicals just sitting on the kitchen table. That's great.
Just straight up, I'm going to murder you. Okay, it's as simple as that. Anyway, okay, man, I can't even. Let's move along. On again. Like Marshall has a birthday party tonight. I'm staying the entire time. I'm like, I'm not gonna leave him here. Like, it's 3 hours. I gotta make sure he doesn't get hurt. So I'm pretty pathetic. But anyway, what else do we have to talk about?
You know what? We're allowed to be pathetic about our kids. So now we'll move on.
I love this one from Eden. Eden is in it, says, "Oh boy. This has become two emotional dads and a goalie. Gager's over it. Brick wall in goal and emotionally. Two emotional dads and a goalie."
And again, it's funny because you guys are like, "Oh, I don't want them to ever to leave." Let's revisit that 15 years from now. Okay, when it what's going on here? When are you getting out? Like, let's see.
Elizabeth already tells me she's leaving when she's 18. I'm like, you're 7. You're not leaving when you're 18. Like, it's not happening. I'm sorry. It's not happening. Like, there's no way. There's no way. All right, well, let's get to a few things here. We're going to get to Hire It or Fire It coming up a little bit later on as well. We're going to talk. I'll tell you guys, this will be a conversation right now, and you have a little bit of time to think about it as we hit on some other things. But if you had the Stanley Cup for a day right now in your life, how your life is, what would you do with it? So think about that. We'll get into that conversation a little bit. But we got to start with this Calgary Flames arena. Gage, you get a look at this thing. What'd you think of what they're rolling out down in Calgary?
I glanced and work got a little bit busy. It looks kind of cool, I guess. It's different. The biggest thing I took from it, I think Eric and I kind of talked about this on your show when you were gone. They need a new rink, right? Like, I know it's
definitely need a new rink.
It's not. I kind of like the fact that when teams go in there, and I think I even said, like, the Flames should not lose a home game all year because the accommodations in that place are just atrocious. The the funniest thing I ever saw was Huberdeau going into that locker room and the look on him and his wife's face. Like, it was just like, what? You know, is this the practice facility? Most practice facilities look better than that thing. So look, we've seen what it's done for Edmonton, you know, and you know what? It just makes it a little bit, I think the fact that going down there as Edmonton fans or coming back here, like home at homes, I think should be consistent with Calgary, Edmonton with scheduling. They should do it all the time. It's going to a nice place, a nice facility is always a lot better than going to the dung heap down there that it is.
Go ahead.
I hope I actually really like I love the rendering of it, and you just hope it's one of those things. And I'm going to go way back to an eyesore in Edmonton of the Edmonton Public Library, which I get to stare out at all the time, where I'm like, the renderings look great, and then the actual building, you're like, it doesn't look anything like what it was supposed to look like.
Got the wrong outside. Tough one.
Yeah, got the wrong outside. So I hope, because it is kind of cool. And again, not a Flame fan, hate the Flames, always have, probably always will. And I'm like, you know, the top, it kind of with the lighting makes it look like flames coming out of the top.
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Is like, yeah, if they execute on that, I'm like, if they execute on what the rendering is, that's really cool. I do love, you know, that you have what looks like some space around it for people, like you have a pavilion-ish area, and I think we've seen that like with Edmonton and the like the Moss Pit, like having that ice district in that area is really good. You can do so much more with it, so I like that they put that in there. I just hope they have actual things that shoot flames from the roof, because that would seal the deal for me.
Oh my God! I mean, how do you not have that planned? Like,
like after win or something, like as people are walking out of the rink, like big flame thing.
Yeah. Just after a goal. It's a big wholesome light.
People know that
like
they scored. Yeah.
It just,
or even if it wasn't on the roof, like if you had like an area where people obviously couldn't walk in and stick their hands in, well, maybe, but like where if you had something like that, that would be pretty cool. I'd be pushing for that hard. I'd be like, that would be super sweet to have. Or like at four corners of the thing, like you had a little pillar that was too high for people to touch, but anytime they scored, it was like, yeah, that would be super cool.
We talked about it on our show this morning, so I'm glad you brought it up. But the rendering it always looks great, right? The rendering always looks great, and then you're like, oh, wait a second here. I thought you know, you'd definitely be able to tell that the top part of the building's supposed to look like flames. Instead, it's just like one orange stick, one brown stick. It's just like you know. So we'll see. But you are right. I mean, I wish, from a selfish CFL perspective, I wish they would have got the money to redo McMahon too, because McMahon is, I mean.
Yeah,
it's the worst football stadium in the country by a mile. And we say the same thing about the Dome. So they'll get the arena done, and you know, it'll be nice to check out in person, get down there and finally get a look at it. You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Rod Z in the inbox says, let your kids follow their dreams. Unless you paid the registration fees on their last stream, which is that's a good thing to look at. And then Stephen Landry over in the Nasty Chat says, guys, is Joaquin the goalie on the show? What was his weirdest pregame ritual? I know Cass's, so I don't know if you know Steve and Cass, but Gage, what was your? Do you have anything weird that you did?
No, I don't think it was an intense stretching routine, I guess, you know, very limited.
But that was about it, eh? That was it.
That was it, you know, that was it. The rest was
all he's weird in his mind.
Nothing else, eh? Nothing else at all. That was it. Just wow.
No,
like, did you put on your blocker first? You put what'd you?
I did go right side of my body first,
okay,
and then left for some reason. I hated doing my sticks because I had big hands and I sweat so much. By the third period, I would lose like grip where I would hold my stick. So I figured out I had this big, huge, lack of a better term, knob by down the paddle of my stick.
You made Zach laugh when you said knob, just so you know.
I know.
The young kid was like
a child.
Yeah,
such a child.
Exactly.
But I started doing that and realized I could maneuver my stick a little bit better. And even when my blocker hand got wet, I could control. But it took forever to do that to all my sticks. And then if one of my sticks broke and in warm up or something, I'd be so mad because then I got to go and I mean, Staffy wasn't going to redo that thing for me, So it that was the hardest thing, just making sure I had enough sticks doctored up the way. And now they just come as is, right? The goalies can get their specs put on it, and you don't do anything to your sticks anymore at this point. That'd be weird to see, actually, the rituals of guys. Like, how many guys did you play with, Cass, that probably took a good 30 to 45 minutes on their sticks where they do everything, shaving down, things like that. I remember I was driving out. I don't know why I was at Rogers for a bit. I was driving out. They were playing the Stars. I think this was a couple years ago. And I saw Pavelski going to the rink, and I yelled out my window. I go, "Why are you going so early? Don't your sticks come pre-made?" And he kind of chuckled. Then I drove away, but he probably thought some crazy guy was just yelling at him.
Hey, but Gager, some crazy guy was yelling at him.
Yeah, some crazy guy was yelling at him. But I found it funny. He was literally going to the rink at like 3:30 for a 7:30 game.
Cass, what about you or some of your teammates with some of this superstitious stuff?
Oh, well, the thing is like everyone had rituals. The goalies were the worst. So Craig Anderson was like, because he would set his gear, but I sat next to him, and he would have his gear in his stall set up how he wanted it, like pads leaned up a certain way, and you could not touch his stuff. That was like one of the big things. Is like if there was a strap on the floor and you like bumped the strap walking by and like moved it, it was a problem. It was a problem, let alone like if your toe touched a pad or like your hand bumped the glove or anything like that, it's like, another 20, 30 minutes of just organizing the gear again. Like if it shifted like an inch of like this adjustment, like whereas like sitting in the stall before any of the gear put on, it had to be exactly right. That was one of the goalie ones. What else? Where are some other ones? I never paid too much attention because I just was always in my own little world, and not because I was superstitious. I was just routine oriented. Like I just like doing the same thing over and over and over again. One of the best pregame routines would have been Kyle Brodziak, who had no pregame routine. His pregame routine was no pregame routine. I mean, the guy wouldn't have gone on ice for warm up if you let him. Like you just sit in the dressing room the whole time, and he always is like, "Well, Cass, you ever seen a cheetah stretch before they take down a gazelle?" And I'm like, "Well, no." And he's like, "Why would I?" So there's that one. That was a good one. What else? Oh, I'm trying to remember who it was because this was stories about, and it was I'm trying to remember who the player was. It was someone in Ottawa, and it wasn't there yet, and they were gone before I got there. This is gonna bug me. It was one of the Czech guys, which is not surprising. Like Czech guys typically have a lot of superstitions, and this is gonna bug me. It'll come to me at some point.
A Czech guy in Ottawa.
In Ottawa, yeah, defenseman. I'm pretty sure. Why can I not? Oh, this is.
I'll find him. You can tell the story.
We'll find out. Yeah. So I didn't get to see this in action, but guys would just always howl about like he was the most superstitious person ever. Where it's like you had to fist bump him the same way in the hallway, like you had to stand in the same order. You had to like, and so guys would mess with him on purpose, where like they'd stand on the other side of the hallway and he'd just stop and sit and wait like until they went back. So you could make him wait for like 5 minutes until you shifted to the other side of the hallway. He apparently was like, if there was water on the dash, so on top of the boards, he would grab a towel and wipe it off. So guys would just like in the middle of the game, like he couldn't have water. I could not stand a drop of water in front of him on the boards. And so guys would just squirt little bits of water just to mess with him. Cause he'd always be grabbing the towel and going then. And not from a, like, I just don't like water there, but from like a superstition. Like if there's water there, it means bad things sort of thing. So yeah, I'll pull it up here if you guys keep going. And,
well, I'm trying to think. You said it was a defenseman when you were with the Sens?
No, it was before. He would have been gone before I got there.
Okay. All right. Well, I didn't look there. Yeah. Man, that's real
Luke
creepy.
Richardson was the first one that I saw was like a very intense warm-up ritual where he had longer hair at that point. He kind of looked like he was at like an AC/DC concert. Like that's what was playing at the time. But he would kind of be like doing a bunch of stuff like active stretching. I was like, geez, if I did that, I'd be exhausted before the game. Like it was very intense.
Really?
What he did. Yeah.
God.
It was kind of awe-inspiring. I would find myself just watching him after a while. Like, oh wow, he does this every single game. That's impressive. No, I always found when guys were like, hyper focused on their routines, it was so hard not to mess with them a little bit. Just the subtle little things that would just drive them crazy. Corey Perry is really like focused on his pregame ritual. Like when he comes out of the tunnel, he's got to touch like both sides of the door and the top too. Like he's got a lot of it. He's got to come out last. Everything's, I don't know what it's like in the room, but he's probably the only one that I've seen from the current Oilers that are really focused on, besides Stuart Skinner. You watch his warm up, it's exactly the same.
Philip Kuba.
Philip Kuba, there it is. Somebody guessed Kuba actually over on YouTube too.
Yeah.
McDoust got it.
There we go.
Yeah, Skinner's the same thing every single time too, right? Like,
yeah. And even they, what was it, Stolars? Because Stuart Skinner he goes to the left-hand side and kind of stares down the opposition from the corner, and Stolars went and stood in front of him the one game in the playoffs. Like it was, it's I don't know, it's pretty cool. That's ballsy. I would never have the balls to stand in front and just stare down the other team. That was nuts.
I got, just based on the thing, I got another one, which is a good pregame and during the game ritual. Another European guy was Marty Havlat. Someone asked if it was Marty. That wasn't Marty that did that, but Marty, we actually had a pretty good, our routines got intertwined, I would say, because he would, every game he would come over and he'd take my headphones and listen to like what I was listening to for a couple minutes, every single game. But Marty Havlat, as part of his pre and during the game, like habits, rituals, superstitions, is he would take all his equipment off every time he came back into the locker room. So every intermission, all his equipment, like down to his gitch. After, so he'd put it on, go for warm up, come off, take all his gear off, and then have it all back on before the coach came in at like the 11-minute mark. So it'd be like he'd be out of his gear for like 2 minutes. Like, and I still don't know how he got it off in time. It's like he had a zipper, and it's just like he zipped it all off, and it's just off, and then all back on. And same thing, every intermission, all his equipment, all the way down to his gitch.
Really?
And you're like, Marty, every single time, and you're like, Marty, like, how do you have time? Like, I don't understand how fast you get your stuff on. It's like just blazing. It's like moving so fast you couldn't even see him move when he's putting his gear on, because you're like, 1 second he's got his gear on, next second it's off, and then like 10 seconds later he's got his gear on again. Like just on and off, on and off, on and off, every single intermission without.
I don't know how you can put your gear on that quick. Like that's lightning quick. Like that's, I mean, I could show up to I could show up to a rec league game with like 8 minutes and get dressed quick, but you're talking like 2 minutes. He's throwing this stuff back on.
Like, I still have nightmares about like not being able to get my equipment on in time,
or forgetting something, or like or
forgetting a piece of equipment. Yeah, and it's like that for like always carried over where I'm like, I gotta be ready on time. Like I gotta have my equipment on. I can't feel rushed putting my equipment on. So I never was a fast changer. Like I usually was one of the first guys to start putting my gear on, because it's just like I liked not feeling rushed doing that.
I have a dream like once a month probably that I'm running late for rec league anyway, and I get there and the team's about to go out, and it's not even like something's going on. I'm just taking forever to get dressed, and by the time I'm out there, it's the third period, or I'll forget my contacts, and I'll be like, oh my god, I can't. Like I don't know why. I don't know why it still happens. Like that's weird to me. The only tradition I ever had before a rec league game was a Red Bull and a Mars bar. And that was on the way to like a 10:30 game too. And then after the game, I'd be like, man, I could never fall asleep at night. I wonder why. And no, that would be the reason. I stopped doing that eventually. But for a few years there, it was a Mars bar and a Red Bull on the way to every game. It was I mean, Tam probably didn't know that now. She's probably getting be pissed at me when I get home later on, but whatever. Okay, so Dean Evason gets the Columbus Blue Jackets job. We can start there. I want to talk a little bit about Woodcroft, because he would have been in the running for it, didn't get it. We'll have to figure out what's going there. But Cass, what do you think of Evason taking over the Columbus Blue Jackets at this point?
Well, he's a passionate coach. A little bit of a tough shake, I would say, in Minnesota, where things just didn't pan out. But I think he's a good coach. Cares a lot about his players. High energy guy. High energy in the dressing room. Played for him in junior, and I actually like it for the Columbus Blue Jackets. It's like a modern version of Tortorella, if I was going to say, like where it's not you're not. You are gentler than he is with the players, but you still have high expectations. And, so some of the good characteristics, like willing to go to bat for your guys, but also, asks a lot. And I think for Columbus as an organization, if we look at some of the things that, and even if we go back to when they have had success or some success, is like, okay, well, they seem to perform better underneath a coach that had a little bit more, not just we'll call it a modern players coach. And further to that, I guess it doesn't surprise me in that we've started to see a shift, because you always see shifts and swings, where for a bunch of years, the hot hire was the ultra player friendly, we'll call it new school coach, right? Like just the very hugs and candy for everybody. I'm just going to give you pats in the back and encouragement, as opposed to the demanding and high expectations. And you've seen it start to swing back a little bit. And I hope we find that happy medium. And I think Dean is a guy that has the capacity to do that, to have high expectations, but then also be relatable with the players and have a good repertoire with the players. So, rapport rather, not repertoire, good rapport with the players. So I like it for Columbus. I think Woodcroft would have been good too. He is more that new school, like, yeah, I'm going to be nice to everybody standpoint. And I think what most likely happened in Columbus is they looked at this and said, okay, what do we actually need from a coaching style to get the most out of our guys? Not to abuse them, not to be harsh with them, but to hold people accountable and to, bring a attitude in the dressing room of expectation and meeting expectation. I think, obviously they felt that Dean Evason was the best choice for that. And I like Dean. I think he's a good coach. I think it'll go well for them.
Gager, what do you think about the expectations on him there? I mean, there's probably not a lot right away, so it could be an easy way to sort of lay out your culture and work on it slowly there.
Dean Evason was, to me, he's a coach that combines the best of both worlds because of his experience. Like when you look at his junior career, like he was a dynamo offensively. Coming to the NHL, had to learn how to be successful at the NHL level. Wasn't a massive scorer, but became a rugged kind of, third line player. Could sometimes moonlight in a scoring role, but I think he understands both sides of that coin, right? Cass mentioned he's a pretty intense guy, but and very emotional. I think that can help.
Pretty intense is mild. He's very intense. Yeah,
he's very intense. But I think that's exactly what the Columbus Blue Jackets need. A guy, not the full Tortorella, but a guy that has that in him, but also can pull it back a little bit. Like when I just remember Bill Guerin talking about how he something had to happen. The dominoes started to fall last year where teams that weren't successful. It started with the Oilers, and you saw a few other coaching changes. I think they were like third after that or something like that. But Bill Guerin said it was a terrible time. He called him in and he goes, what's going on? Are you firing me? And he goes, yeah. And there was a big hug and tears between GM and coach, right? Bill Guerin didn't want to do this with this guy, but he had to do something because of the way the team was performing. And unfortunately, it cost Dean Evason's job. I think he's a great coach. Mm-hmm. I think this is the perfect coach for the Columbus Blue Jackets for their lineup. They're going to be a lot better next season just because of this decision.
Now for Jay Woodcroft, it's interesting because his name was mentioned here, and we were talking about this morning. Like, Cass, do you think Woodcroft's going to have to become an assistant coach on a bench somewhere again before landing the next head coaching gig, or do you just wait and maybe midway through next season when 4 or 5 coaches get fired, you take that job instead?
I think you wait.
Yeah,
I think you wait, and there's no rush for him. Like, you got fired halfway through the year. and you can wait. Now, if you didn't get a job over the course of the season, if guys get let go, then maybe you look at taking an assistant coach's job to keep the train running. But you're still getting paid and paid quite handsomely to sit and not coach. So why rush it to say I'm just going to take an assistant coach's job and take a step back when really from a record standpoint and a winning standpoint, he's got a pretty solid record of winning at the NHL with his time as a head coach. So yeah, if I was Jay Woodcroft, I wouldn't be jumping at an assistant coach's job. Again, if this season goes by, you have to start to think about it. But for right now, you'd sit and wait.
Gager, what do you think? What do you think happens with him? Like if he wants to be on a bench somewhere in September, he could be on a bench somewhere in September, right? Like I would think.
What are you talking at the NHL level?
Well, NHL level might be tough because a lot of those jobs are already taken. But I mean, maybe there's still something there.
I mean, yeah, I wondered, guys, about Woodcroft, and I don't know, but this is just me. The rumblings of everything, seeing his interviews, that awesome commercial he did, which is I wish that was still running. But when asked about, have you watched the Oilers? And he goes, no, I don't watch the Oilers anymore. And I just was like, well, why wouldn't you watch the Oilers? There's a little bit of arrogance there that, sometimes a little humility is needed in certain cases. And I just wonder if that has kind of hurt him in any case, because let's face it, of course he watched the Oilers play. Like he stayed in Edmonton. He knows what's going on. His kids went, like, it would be impossible not to watch time with the Oilers. And why wouldn't you? He said, I'm watching other games in case I get the call. I want to see how other teams are playing and their personnel and how they're implemented. But I mean, the best way to do that is watching Oiler games and how they play against one of the best teams in the league. Right. So, it's interesting to me. I think if nothing happens, a lot of coaches, they want to keep the as he put a lot of times, that's how he gets his juice is to coach. Get over to Europe and coach for a year, right? Like still be ready to go here. I just what you said, possibly maybe waiting out that first until Thanksgiving, but if nothing happens after Thanksgiving, Dusty, then I would be like, oof. But then I'm starting looking for anything that can happen for me.
Urban Daddy over on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube today, please subscribe to the channel. That'd be great. We're trying to make a push to 10,000 here before we hit our 1-year anniversary. And we're less than 500 away. So sub to the channel if you could, that'd be great. Urban Daddy says, someone gets fired mid-season, Woodcroft will get hired. Jimbo goes, bingo. McDowell said Woodcroft should watch the Oilers to learn how to run a zone defense. And then Smitty the Welder says Woody is overrated, needs to hold his players more accountable. And this is a good question from V-Power as we dive into a midsummer Jay Woodcroft in-depth discussion, because why wouldn't we? Do you guys think that Nobby's success has hurt Woodcroft's hireability? Cass, what do you think about that?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think a fair question. You kind of probably doesn't it? Doesn't it have to a little bit?
I mean, you left. He took them to the best record the rest of the season and 1 win away from the Stanley Cup final. That can't look good on the resume.
No. Like I think it absolutely does. Now, I don't think it would impact so strongly that he wouldn't get a job, but that's an interview question you're asking, right? What went wrong? You left and these guys, which is a fair question to say, you're in Edmonton. When you got let go, look at the season they had and the finish they had.
Were you holding them back? Were you holding them back? Right? Like,
were you, or what would you do differently? Like, how should you have addressed that? Like, that's a fair question to ask. So, yeah, I think it absolutely does hurt you, both in the interview process and just overall. So, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, it hurts.
Yeah,
it's got to. You can't. You look at the success of the next guy, and he was kind of in that situation when he took over too, right? He improved the team, so to speak, I think. But Yeah, I'd love to hear the answer to that question, Cass. What maybe not what went wrong, but like what would you do differently after that?
Yeah, that's it. That's a good one too. That. Yeah, good question. Good question. Calvin C says, guys, getting fired 13 games into the season most likely hasn't helped with the optics either. So, yeah, I mean, maybe there is a little bit of a stigma around Woody right now and the way that Edmonton ended up doing so well once they moved on. But we'll see. We'll see where he eventually ends up next. You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. I wanted to get into this, then we'll get to hire it or fire it for GS Construction, of course, the presenting sponsor of Two Guys and a Goalie. And this is a good question for those of you watching or you're listening right now on Edmonton Sports Talk, tune in, iHeart or whatever. And just in our ordinary lives, right? Like we're not guys who make $8 million can go on a yacht with the Stanley Cup and do whatever. What would you do with the Stanley Cup for a day in your life right now? 780-218-9999 or hit us up over in the Nasty Chat on YouTube. Gager, what would that look like? Obviously, your daughter wouldn't be there. She's down in the States. No, but all joking aside, what's that look like for you? Like,
well, selfishly take it to everyone that always said I sucked to have a look at it. No,
I don't know if you have enough time in one day.
Yeah, we'd have to maybe extend that. No, I think you do something to you see people bring it to places where maybe they don't get to see it. That'd
be nice.
I would love to. I'd love to go to some. A hospital or something. You see, the one story that sticks into my mind was Sidney Crosby bringing it upstairs to a long-time, I think, Leaf fan that was in, long-term care in a hospital, couldn't see and ran his fingers, and he guided his fingers over the old Leafs names and things like that. And I'd like to do something like that, and then it would be game on. It would. There would be quite the party afterwards with close friends and family with a lot of fun with that thing. We would push the boundaries with the Stanley Cup, I think.
Cass, what about you with the family and stuff?
Yeah. Well, I'd probably do still something where we'll call it the public community could come out. So I'd probably, whether you could do a children's hospital, you could do a hospital, like there's different stuff you could do that. And I'd have to think long and hard on exactly where to do that. First probably would do something at my church and just have it there. People in the community in Sherwood Park could come out, get their picture taken with it. I remember getting to do that as a kid, which is probably why I never won it. But seeing it back when Edmonton won and getting an opportunity to go see the cup like that would be cool and would love for kids to have that opportunity. So we'll probably do something like that. And then probably just a lot of time with family. I wouldn't take it out on the golf course. Basically just have it somewhere, whether it's at a restaurant or someone's house that has space, just to have a whole ton of people that you love and care about, and friends and family and people that are close to you, and just hang out with it. That to me is the kind of, that would be the pinnacle of it. It's just getting to share that experience with everybody.
I love the one over on the Nasty Chat on YouTube says, realistically, popcorn bucket while watching a movie at home, which I would love to do with the kids. Like we have a movie night as much as we can once a week. That would be cool to have that sitting in the basement with us, having popcorn out of it, just me and Tam and the kids. That'd be great. I wouldn't take it back to Cranbrook because Niedermeyer and Lukowicz and Clem, those guys have already done that, so that wouldn't make a lot of sense. I would like my parents to come up for it. But I'd love like my high school and my college buddies. There's like a group of like 8 to 10 of us who are still pretty close. I'd love to get those boys up here for like the afternoon at least and kind of let loose on it. I'd certainly have it in here at Edmonton Sports Talk and we'd be drinking 6 o'clock or lager and birdie booze out of it all morning on the show. Can you imagine like just the cup right here, just like doing whatever the hell we wanted out of it? But yeah, that'd be tough. I need 2 days. Because I'd want to have a party with the boys, but I'd also want to watch the movie at night with Tam and the kids. And I wouldn't, if I party with the boys in the afternoon, I wouldn't be in shape to sit at home and watch a movie with Tam and the kids in the evening. So
Do the matinee then.
Could do matinee, and then that's a good point.
Do the matinee.
Home matinee movie, and then meet up with everybody else. That'd be a lot of fun. That'd be a pretty good time. I like that. All right, let's get into hire it or fire it. Presented by GS Construction. They're hiring now. Become a part of their team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or their page on Indeed.ca, huge hiring website. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team at GS Construction right now. All right, here we go. This first one comes from something I heard that Gager said on our show yesterday. Troy Stecher will play more than 30 games for the Oilers this season. Hire it or fire it?
Well, I got to hire it. I got to hire it because I said it.
Yeah, I got to fire it because no, he does not.
Gager, tell me about this. Tell me about what were you saying yesterday when you set up these deep pairings on the show?
Well, I kept Ekholm and Bush together.
Okay.
Right. But then I'm looking at Nurse. And we didn't have a really good, from what I saw from Stecher, he moves around well. There's a physicality there
for a little guy. Yeah.
For a little guy, and the ability to move the puck is also there, right? And this was just me kind of thinking maybe the best games that we see from Darnell Nurse are a lot of times the ones that you don't even recognize, like you don't realize he's on the ice. It's just he's a steady, solid defender. And maybe having another guy that can move the puck really well can allow Darnell Nurse to kind of relax and just play his game. He's got to bring it to another level this year, obviously, but I think this can help Darnell Nurse in a sense. And then I had Broberg with a question mark. So because something has to give. I don't know if that's CC or Kane. Still had Kane in the lineup, but in this scenario, I had maybe I know Cass is
so Broberg with one of Kulak or CC basically is what you're saying. Like
yeah. But something's I don't know who that's going to be.
So Gager in the offseason is trading CC right in front of you, Cass. Your thoughts on this?
To me, Kulak, if you can, Kulak makes more sense just because of the side that he plays.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, to me, it makes more sense because of the side that he plays. And then you have Broberg because then you're forcing Kulak to play in his offside, which he probably would. So if you trade CC, Stetcher's not in the lineup. If you don't trade CC, Stetcher's not in the lineup. So to me, Stetcher's your extra guy if someone gets hurt. So are we going to lose 30-man games on the right side? Maybe. That's the only instance he, I think, plays more than that. But most likely he will play less. So, yeah, I'm firing that thing.
All right, the Vancouver Canucks. I stole this one straight from tsn.ca. The Vancouver Canucks have the best goaltending tandem in the NHL. Hire it or fire it. This, of course, with a big Shelov's bump in the postseason.
Yeah. Fire it. It's not proven. The Oilers do. It's proven. Regular season, they have the best duo in the league. Their guy went in. Picard went in and played against top other teams in the league and performed better than average. And we don't know what they have, and they're going to probably just. That's interesting to see. I want to see how they implement their goalies this year. If they will kind of split it up, maybe a 60-40 split, which they should. But no, they do not.
For the longest time, this answer would have been the Boston Bruins, right? But that dynamic duo has been split, and it's now Swayman and Korpisalo. Cass, hire it or fire it here?
Fire it because Shelov's isn't proven. I mean, he had a good couple games in the playoffs. They lost the series. So, if you wanted to say they have arguably the best goalie in Demko, okay, we could have a conversation about that. Demko is fantastic when he's healthy. But yeah, I can't say that yet. Can't say it wholeheartedly, so fire it.
All right, let's get to this one. Acolyte is the best Star Wars TV show so far. Hire it or fire it?
Fire it. I haven't even watched it yet, but I'm going to fire it because there's zero way that it is better than Andor.
Andor was very good. Yeah, Andor's probably. Gager, what do you think? I mean, it's mostly just my path to talk about Acolyte for a few minutes here.
It's Cass, once you watch it, you still might have the gap between a new show and Andor will be a lot closer. Let's just
I think that's fair. Like, I think it holds up. I mean, Andor's probably the answer, but
I thought it was excellent. The whole thing. I didn't know why everyone was poo-pooing on this thing. Like I mentioned my theories to YouTube Trev about it, and even Trev was, how Trev kind of leans back and kind of goes, "Huh," and he agreed with me. Because there's some introductions of people in this, and the whole when you go back to the lore and everything, it's fantastic. And way better fighting scenes. So I don't know.
The fight scenes are unreal.
It's close.
Yeah. Cass,
I would have to
we got
just on the fight scenes alone. You're questioning Andor.
They had the dual fight scene at one point when the lightsabers crossed, they cut to the two legs that were crossing on the other fight. It was extremely well done. I had zero expectations for Acolyte, and I mean it's up there. It's up there. Yeah, Cass, I think after you watch it, because you're a pretty big Star Wars guy, right, Cass? Like I think after you watch it, you'll be like, there'll be one of two things. You'll either call it out in a bunch of questions that I would not know anyway. Like I could see you being like, well, what, like when Gage or when the lightsaber changes, that was insane. Yeah. But I think you'll really like it, man. I bet you put it in your top 3 for sure from shows that Star Wars have dropped.
And the fact that you
get around to it, but
when you can pound it out in a weekend too, Kat. Yeah. Like it's all sitting there. It's going to be even better for you because you can just go back to back to back.
Here's one over on YouTube. This is a bonus hire it or fire it, I guess. Hire or fire watching Star Wars chronologically, starting with Acolyte now. I guess if you're going to do it, it's way beyond, it's way before everything, but that would be where you would start now, I guess, right, Gager? Like
If only I could Jedi mind wipe myself and just watch it all, it would be unbelievable. Unbelievable if you could go from start to
There'd be some holes to fill after Acolyte up until, which is what they'll probably do with shows here. All right, let's go with this one. Max Verstappen is the biggest whiner in all of sports. Hire it or fire it.
Hire it. He's really whiny.
Oh, he's got it. Yeah. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who would compete with him here, but you win every race forever, and then the moment it goes sour, you're just obnoxious as hell. Like, my God.
Yeah, he's the biggest whiner.
Has to be
by far.
Yeah,
I hire it.
Like
that whole display. The whole weekend.
He's a baby. He's a baby.
Like, he is a baby. And the thing is, he can't, like most drivers will say it's the other guy's fault, but you see them in the press pits afterwards or later on, they go, I'll take the blame for that. Max still thinks he's in the right all the time, right? And even Red Bull says, when it's clearly Max's fault, oh, it was a racing incident. Come on. The guy's a nut.
I thought it was great when Lewis was asked when he was sitting there with the two McLaren guys. He was asked about it. And he whatever he said at the end, he's like, I view it that way, but Max always views it the other way or whatever it was. So it's just like, oh man.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, it's so
fantastic.
It's so annoying. I love the fact that they're going after it here. It's great. All right. Let's go with this one. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins will start less than 10 games as a center this season. Hire it or fire it?
Hire it. Hire it. You got center, so he doesn't need to play center.
Right.
Why would you play him center? When would you play him center?
I have one suggestion. I think you would play him center if Nuge and Draisaitl go together. Or, McDavid and Draisaitl. I looked at you guys like, why are they saying anything? I was like, McDavid and Draisaitl. I think then you'd still require Nuge down the middle.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have Henrique.
But how many games are you going to start with that? Like,
that's why I put the number at 10. It's not a big number, right? So
not a big number.
Gage, where you at? I think I agree with Cass. I'd probably fire this or hire it with less than 10. But what do you think?
I'm gonna fire it. I think he starts at center more than 10.
Yeah. Where's he on your lines yesterday? You have him on the wing still?
I had him on the wing with Draisaitl.
Okay. Yeah, and, I mean that could make sense. Because did you have Skinner with McDavid?
To see how
that's three times now we've done the mix and match thing, and we've had Skinner with McDavid and Hyman all 3 times.
I talked about there's duos, right? And I think the top 2 duos with the Edmonton Oilers, what I think is the best setup. I think Hyman and McDavid are a duo. They play really well together, and we've seen in the past that Draisaitl and the Nuge feed off each other very well. Like they play similar styles together. I just seen a lot of success. So maybe you see Henrique move up there sometimes with Draisaitl. I don't know. That's where I'm thinking Nuge goes back to the third line at certain points. Like these things aren't set in stone. That the ninja is on the bench a lot of the times with Coach K. But this is what I would like to see how the season starts. I'm not going to watch any preseason games because I hate them. But I'll wait till the regular season and see how this works itself out.
All right, 780-218-9999, of course, is where you can text us. If you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, you'll get a small dose of Will and the Wolf. And then Nielsen Show replay coming up here from 1 to 4 today. If you're watching over on YouTube, make sure you're back with us tomorrow morning on The Nielsen Show and give us a sub before you take off today. Two Guys and a Goalie is presented to you by GS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety driving their success. GS Construction has a foundation built on teamwork, and now they want you to become a part of their legendary team. Visit www.gsconstruction.ca, click on Ready to Work, visit their page at Indeed.ca. That's another option. And with their Next Up Person program at GS Construction, it's not just a job. You can make it a career. Boys, you have a good couple of days. I'm around this week. It's going to be awesome. I get to chat with you guys again on Thursday. Gage, you're working the game on Sunday night, eh? The Weens and the Dogs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'll be slinging meat.
Cash,
better sling it better than you've been slinging it ever before.
Hey, you know what? It's there's things are consistent. You know, it's either the offense, my Dogs. Defense sucks. Defense is okay. My Dogs are still really good. You can always count on my meat. All right, Cass? It never fails.
Your meat never fails. Got it.
See you guys later. Bye.
See you guys.